My mum and I have this theory that if you leave your glasses out overnight, there's these little fairies that come and just tread on your glasses or like leave fingerprints all over your glasses, because how are they always so smeared and dirty? Anyway, I'm currently reading this book, Witchcraft, Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This comes out in January. Thank you so much, Nightfire, the publisher, for sending me through an early copy. I am loving this. It's following a teenage girl who is pregnant out of wedlock in the 70s, and her dad sends her to this home for girls that are in similar situations. It's pretty bleak. It's not the greatest place ever, but she's surrounded by a lot of people that are in really similar situations, and at the moment it's about their dynamic and the bonds forming between them, and also the fear that they have about what's happening to them and the lack of education they have as to pregnancy and giving birth, and the kind of horrors that are surrounding that for them as to what they've heard from other people and seeing other girls go off and experience it before they themselves are having their baby. And it's just creating this really unsettling and uncomfortable and horrible environment for them. That's where I'm at the moment, 100 or so pages in. I know that there is a devil character coming into it because the blurb has told me so. It says, for girls like us down there at the home, the devil turned out to be our only friend, and even today I don't regret a thing the devil made us do. Now, we haven't really had this involved in it yet, so I'm really intrigued to see how that's going to come into things, but I am really enjoying this so far. It's kind of at the moment sitting at 4 or 5-star-ish because I can't stop thinking about it when I'm not reading it, and I know that the proper part of the plot hasn't even got swinging yet, so I'm very excited for when it does. I kind of anticipated for this to be like a slow self-care week because I was away last week. I got back on Wednesday last week. It's currently Tuesday, so this is my 4th working day back, and I kind of thought, well, take it easy, take it nice and slow. And I'm bored. I don't want to take it easy. I don't want to take it nice and slow. I mean, it's all very well and good looking after ourselves in the ways of like having a bath, doing a face mask, sitting and chilling, watching a film. But actually sometimes that isn't what self-care looks like. And I think that can look different for different people. Don't get me wrong. That can 100% be self-care. And for me at times it is self-care. But I want to be around people and doing things right now. And I can't really be doing that. So I'm feeling a little bit like I'm bouncing off the walls, and I really want to go and do something and not be in my flat. As much as I love my home, I'm just a little bit, I don't want to say bored because I have so many things here I can do, but I'm just a bit sick of being here already, which is really great given that I only just got back here. But I like being on the move and doing things. I like being at home as well, and I definitely would say I'm a homebody, but I like being at home when I have things planned that I know I've got coming up. And I think because my big thing that was planned has now happened and I don't have any of my travel plans secured for next year, I'm like sat here all jittery. So that's kind of the vibe we're currently running with. I got my ADHD diagnosis like 3 or 4 weeks ago now, some point in October. And whilst it's not really changed anything greatly for me, it's really interesting to see the clarity that it's brought in my brain. It's given me a lot of perspective as to why I do and think certain things, and also what overstimulated feels like for me and how that affects me, and why sometimes when I want to do something like sit and read, I can't do it and I get frustrated at myself. And in the past I found that really difficult because I'm like, well, just sit and read, and I do it for like 5 minutes and I'm like, I want to do it but I don't want to do it. And now it's like knowing in my brain, oh well, that is what ADHD is doing, and that is what's affecting that, as well as many other things. But I'm kind of coming to terms with that now that I'm back from my trip, because I got that diagnosis, sat with it for like less than a week I think, and then we were traveling, so I didn't really have any time to properly process it in my brain. And I only see it as a good thing to have this diagnosis, so it's all good processing. But it is interesting now, like when we were away, I picked up, like we were at the airport and I was getting this tray of food at one of the food stations, and I was picking it up for everyone, and my mum was next to me, and then when they called our number I went to get the tray, and then I think she thought it was just going to be picking up a tray and going and sitting down, so she went and sat down, and I ended up having like these cups to fill up, and she didn't realise this, she couldn't see me, so I was walking with these cups and the tray of food, trying to balance it all whilst filling the cups up with nowhere to put the tray, and I was starting to feel really flustered and overwhelmed, and I couldn't quite work out how to hold the tray and things. And I know all of these are perfectly regular things to feel anyway, and it's not just me saying that this is what ADHD is or anything, but I was feeling that, and then I had to push through this crowd of people. There were so many people everywhere that I was trying to like weave my way through to get back to sit down with my family. My mum immediately sees that I've been struggling, was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't realise that I needed to help you with that, like I didn't know they were giving you the cups empty, and we're like, I'm struggling to put the stuff out everywhere and give everyone everything, and then there was like this screaming child like right next to me in my face, and then like they were having a fight with their sibling and they pushed their sibling like right into our table, and I was just sat there like, I just felt so overstimulated. And I am someone that doesn't mind being in busy public spaces. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind being in that kind of a space and I don't feel anxious towards it. But everything was building up and building up. And then our gate number wasn't called for ages. And like they kept having the little thing where it was like gate closes at 2:10 or something and the gate just wasn't being called. So one of us was constantly getting up and down to check the gate, which it didn't matter to me the gate hadn't been called, but it was the fact that we were constantly having to get up and down to check it. It just really overstimulated me, and I found myself thinking, okay, whilst I feel like really stressed about what's happening right now, I can tell, I know now, I feel like this, specifically this particular overstimulated feeling, because I have ADHD. And that clarity made me feel better about it, because otherwise I think I would have just been sat there like, why am I feeling like this? Why am I so stressed? Why is everything annoying me? Why do I feel like I just want to scream into a pillow? Because that isn't something I feel a great deal. It's not something I feel often, but in that situation, I felt it. And I think it was just interesting to be able to know that. So that is a kind of example of how the ADHD having the diagnosis rather, has kind of changed my thought process with a couple of things and has allowed me to be a bit more forgiving of myself, which I should be anyway, and anyone should be forgiving of yourself, but it's kind of difficult to actually do that sometimes. Anyway, I just went off on a little bit of a chatty ramble there, but hello. I hope you're enjoying the vlog so far. It has been about a week since I last verbally updated you in this vlog. I ended up just having a really shit week last week. I just felt crap. I didn't really feel like I wanted to create all that much. I didn't really want to be chatty, which is saying something for me because I usually am very chatty and like to talk a lot. I went to the ML Rio event on Thursday last week in Bath for the graveyard shift, and that was fantastic. It was so inspirational. It was also a really emotional event. It was the day after I think the US election results had been called, which was just such a weird day and just filled with so much sadness for so many reasons. And that was reflected in this event and what ML Rio was talking about, and it was just really sad, but also showed you how important stories are, and sometimes stories are there to offer the safe space that reality isn't, as much as reality should be able to offer that safe space. The stories in books and in films and TV and music and things are there to offer that, and that's what's so important about creating these stories and about sharing them and talking about them and enjoying them and experiencing them. And that was really a big message that I took away from that event. It was just brilliant. Hearing ML Rio talk, I think I have to say ML Rio is a favourite author now. I really want to do a reread actually of If We Were Villains, which currently sits at my favourite book of all time. I'm almost scared to reread it in case it isn't, for whatever reason, my favourite book of all time, but I might buy myself a copy just to annotate and maybe do a vlog for that in the new year. If that is something you would like to see, let me know. On the Sunday of last week, my friend took me to Cheddar Gorge. I really thought I'd been there before, but I actually don't think I had, because I think I would remember going somewhere that beautiful. My English teacher at school once said that the definition of the word sublime was when something on this earth made you as a human feel tiny, and being at the bottom of that gorge and looking up at the cliff edge, that was sublime. It made me feel tiny, and it was really brilliant just to be out there. Also, so much cheese. It is a home of cheddar cheese. There was so much cheese. We had some of the cave cheese, which was rather enjoyable, and we went into the caves and saw how the cheese was cheesed. It was really good. It was exactly what I needed, to be honest, and just felt freeing and fun, and it was just great. It was a perfect blend of being outside in nature and then also being able to browse some cool cheese shops, which is always a good thing. So I should probably give you a reading update on Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I am halfway through. I'm reading this kind of slowly, but for no real reason other than just I keep getting distracted and have been doing other things. I am really liking this. This is getting more into the devil and witchcraft side of it now. To start with, it was much more about these girls' journeys and really emphasizing the lack of knowledge they have and also the lack of choice they have in the situations that they're in. It's kind of scary that this is set in the 70s. It's obviously written modern day, but set in the 70s. And it is kind of scary how full circle it seems to be with this situation of seeing these pregnant girls have their own choices removed from them and have those decisions made by somebody else. The witchcraft element I'm enjoying quite a lot. I thought it would be more creepy, dark devil vibes, but it's kind of gone down more of a pagan witchcrafty route-ish at the moment. It's interesting seeing how it's unfolding, and I'm sure it will continue to reveal more as I've got like half the book left. So we are starting to see the flickers of the magic side come into it and exploring what the idea of the devil is and that representation of the devil in this book specifically. And that's something I enjoy seeing in different books that I read, how figures like that are represented differently in different books and how they're depicted as different types of characters. And that's a really interesting thing in this Grady Hendrix book. Also really enjoying the way Grady Hendrix is writing these girls. There are two men in this book at the moment that we've met. One of them is the girl's father that we meet at the start, and then the other is a doctor. Neither of them are likable at all. Like we do not like them in the slightest. So we've got two toxic men, and then we've got the women who work at the home that are looking after these girls, who we also don't really particularly like, and then we have the girls themselves, who we feel like I want to protect them. And I really like the contrast of characters that we've got going on there as well. I think Grady Hendrix has done a really good job of pulling it all together, and I'm very excited to see how it ends. I'm off to the cinema tonight to see Heretic with my friend, which I'm really looking forward to. It's the new Hugh Grant horror thing. It's going to be interesting seeing Hugh Grant in a role like that, so I'm quite looking forward to that. And I, of course, will keep you posted as I read a little bit more of Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. So I finished Grady Hendrix, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. I've given this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'm trying to process this book in my head. This was really unlike any other Grady Hendrix book that I've read. I really obviously enjoyed it, but it definitely felt like it was more grounded in the historical fiction than it was the horror. And if anything, that horror felt a little bit more fantasy than it was actual scary horror. But I loved the way that Grady Hendrix balanced those themes in this book. It kept me gripped throughout the whole thing, and oh my god, it made me feel so many things. I felt very emotional towards the end of it. The whole theme throughout this is the lack of choice that these girls have about what is happening to them and how it's going to affect their future, and how everyone's treating them like they don't know enough to make their own decision themselves, and therefore just not even including them in the conversation. And the way that everything is geared against them, and it just made me feel so passionate for them. And it raised so many interesting conversations, lots of different conversations about the patriarchy and society and these pressures on these women and how they were treated and how that overall affected the outcome of their journeys in this story. And it was so powerful, and it really shows the responsibility that we have as humans to look out for each other as well and to be a good person. And I think, as I said earlier in the vlog, with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, this book, I think, was probably the perfect book to be reading at the moment, and not necessarily the book that I thought would have been the perfect book, but it had the right balance of, like, it was fueling me with a rage for the patriarchal system that we live in. It was fueling me with a rage for the men and the boys that had put these girls in this situation and were keeping them in these situations, and just generally for the whole lack of choice they had over the whole thing. The overall feelings I have with this is rage and sadness, and also empowerment, because there are so many things in this that happen as well that just show you the solidarity of the friendship between these girls and how much the extent they will go to protect each other. And I think that's really powerful as well. I've got so much to say. I know that I'm going to edit this clip and think there's so many other things I could have said about this book, but I honestly am so surprised by how I feel about this book. I really enjoy Grady Hendrix as a writer, so I'm not surprised I enjoyed it. I just didn't expect it to stir up so many other emotions around a much wider topic and have so much to say around that topic, and was said in such a delicate way. In fact, actually, last night I did pin a page to read out. I just thought this line was a really well written one. It says, "Every price must be paid. So why do people pay it over and over again? Why do the same people always bleed?" And I just thought that was really powerful. There was so many brilliant lines in this book. I thought it was fantastic. It comes out in January. Do order yourself a copy. It's great. It's not a scary kind of horror. The horror is in the element of, like, the devil and that interaction, which I guess I haven't really touched on as much, but I don't want to give any spoilers towards that. But I think that really the horror as well is in the way that these girls are treated and the way that society just shuns them completely because of how it views them to be. And oh my God, it just makes me so mad. And just knowing that this was the case as well in the 70s, and it's probably, not something that's eradicated now, and just the way, like, the slut shaming and just everything around that. Yeah, really, really, really interesting book. Really glad that I picked that up, and thank you so much, Nightfire, for sending me through a copy. I did pick myself up another book this week, which I think is going to be our tiny book club pick for December, which is a little book club I run every month over on Fable, where we read basically a different small book each month, and this one fits in that category. I'll leave a link down below if you ever want to check it out, but this is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. So this won the Booker Prize this year, and I'd seen the cover about and kind of assumed it was a non-fiction, and I decided to have a little bit more of a look at it. But I want to do a video where I read books that kind of help me to restore my faith in humanity a little bit, because I think I need to. And I was looking at the blurb of this and I thought, I think this could actually probably fit quite well into that. So I'll read you the blurb. Life on our planet as you've never seen it before. 6 astronauts rotate in their spacecraft above the Earth. They are there to collect meteorological data and conduct scientific experiments, but mostly they observe. Together they watch our silent blue planet, endless shows of spectacular beauty witnessed in a single day. Yet although separated from the world, they cannot escape its constant pull. News reaches them of the death of a mother, and with it comes the thoughts of returning home. The fragility of human life fills their conversations, their fears, their dreams. So far from Earth, they have never felt more part or protective of it. They begin to ask, what is life without Earth? What is Earth without humanity? I'm hoping this is one to restore my faith in humanity a little bit, so you will probably see this featured in a reading vlog very soon. Okay, I think that is it for this vlog. I hope you've enjoyed coming along with me. This started off as like a calming, chill vlog, and then I don't really know what it became, but I've enjoyed reading this book. I hope you've enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.